What's going on, family? Hope y'all doing well, man. Listen, we are back with another episode of Conversations with Kenny, man. So look, listen, first off, I just want to say thank you all so much just for continuing to tune in and support anytime we post this content. This podcast wouldn't be what it is without y'all. And so, I know that when this was placed in my heart as an assignment to do, right? I had y'all in mind, and y'all continue to come through every single time we post. I'm seeing the comments. I'm noticing that there are people who are being impacted and changed for the better as a result of these most recent episodes. And so we just gonna keep rocking. And again, I want to thank y'all for continuing to rock with your boy through all of this, man. I honestly had no idea where this was gonna go. But my thing is, I trust in the one who put it in me, which is the Father, which is my creator, right? And so I trust that whatever he has placed in me, right, that it's for the benefit of not just myself, but for the people. And so thank y'all again, man, just for continuing to rock with your boy through all of this. So I want to say that first off. Also, I want to say I hope y'all had a great spring break. I know my wife and I, we got an opportunity to spend some time with some friends who were here in the Bay Area. We did work, but it was a little less work over the spring break, but we did get to spend some time with some friends and things like that. We just got to chill, was able to watch some basketball and just have fun, right? Because, all in all, while we are doing the work that we do and while we, love impacting people, the most important thing when it comes to that process is taking care of yourself. Because I always tell people, as I shared in my previous episode, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so how can I take care of other people if I'm not taking care of myself? And so I hope you all were able to just rest, recoup, and to just be able to just breathe, right? And decompress so that you can come into the week much more stronger, much more brighter, much more focused, right? And so, again, I hope y'all had a really good spring break. And also thank y'all just for your continued support throughout this whole podcast. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it, right? I already had a particular subject in mind to talk about, but I believe that the Creator has me steered in another direction, and for real, I just gotta go here, man, because I think a lot of people go through this and suffer through this just as I did myself. And honestly, to begin this whole thing, the two words that kept raining up in my spirit throughout this whole thing was personal freedom. Like personal freedom. Like, why I keep hearing that personal freedom? And so I went and looked up the definition of personal freedom just to get some context on what that is. Because I'm like, why does that keep coming to my spirit? Like, I know what that means for myself, but like, why is this keep popping up in my spirit to share on this podcast? And so I'm gonna give you a quick definition of what personal freedom is. So personal freedom is, in its most basic sense, is the ability of an individual to act, think, express themselves without undue interference or oppression, encompassing the rights and liberties that allow for autonomy and self-determination. I'm gonna read that one last time. Personal freedom is the ability of an individual to act, think, and express themselves without undue interference or oppression, encompassing the rights and liberties that allow for autonomy and self-determination. So listening to that, I can tell you right now, a lot of my life was not me acting, thinking, or expressing myself with any undue interference or oppression, right? A lot of my life wasn't me encompassing the rights and liberty and being able to express myself fully, right? But it honestly, it just came down to it to where it was like a few years ago where I really just started stepping into who I am and really walking into my authentic self. And I think overall, when it comes to personal freedom basically means that, you are operating and walking in your whole authentic self, right? And we know that that's a whole process, right, to get there, you know what I mean? But that's overall what this particular thing means. So I was like, Lord, like, why do you have me going here? And I think honestly, it's because there are a lot of people who are struggling to embrace this concept. There are a whole lot of people right now who are walking around and you're moved by other people's opinions, by other people's thoughts. You're moved by their perspectives. You're moved by maybe how, you were raised. And I'm not knocking on how we were raised, because at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff does help us. But there may be certain parts of how we were raised that may not necessarily be suitable for us as adults, right? And honestly, I've had my fair share of those things, right? And while I love my family, I love that, they raised me, right, to be a respectable man and all of those things, right? And I believe overall came out to be a great person as a result of how my family has raised me. But I have to also just be honest and say there were certain ways, certain things that were shared, certain ways, examples that were given to us that doesn't necessarily serve me right now, right? And a lot of times you'll have that, right? You'll be given into a space to where you are being poured into, people are sharing all of these things, and it's overall helping you. But once you get to a certain point, you realize that some of that stuff that they said, while it was good intention behind it, it doesn't necessarily serve you as you're an adult, right? And so personal freedom is basically you walking in your authentic self and being everything that you are called to be. And I'm in a point in my life where I'm so much more free and being myself, and so much more free and not caring about what other people think. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell y'all, like, for real, that's a process, right? That's a whole process where I'm making a definite decision that I'm going to operate in who I am. I'm going to do what I'm called to do. I'm going to walk in the thing that I'm supposed to walk into, and nothing or no one is going to deter me from that, right? Because at the end of the day, this is my life, and I'm the only one that has to live it. And that's your life, and you're the only one that has to live your life. And so I just encourage us as we go throughout our process of living right, and whatever it is that we're doing, to develop this sense of personal freedom, the ability to act and to think and to express themselves, right? But what happens when you are in a situation where you don't feel like you can think or act or fully express yourself and who you are? Like, what do you do, right? Because I hear a lot. That's a lot. That's what people are going through as far as personal freedom. Like they may not be in spaces that accommodate that, or spaces of people that support that, right? And one of the big tells, right? One of the quickest ways to get to that point, right? To begin that process is to put people around you who are embracing this concept of personal freedom, putting people around you who are already embracing and walking in their authentic selves, right? Because there's a saying that, it's popping in my head. It's like birds of a feather flock together, right? And that's real when it comes to who you're associated around, when it comes to this concept, right? If you're around people who are moved by, other people's thoughts, who are moved by this thing, who are moved by that thing, and you're not in groups, in spaces where people are not pushing to be their authentic selves, then that's going to tame on you, right? That's going to affect you. And so one of the keys for me, honestly, for me getting to this point was I had to get around people who were just unapologetically blunt in terms of operating in their authentic selves, right? And doing it to a point to where they did not care about what anyone thought, right? And it took for me to get in those positions, right? To get into those spaces, asking those questions, really getting curious, right? Because at the time when I wasn't in that space, I was tired, yo. I was at a point to where, I really wanted to just break free in terms of not caring about what people think, and not being moved by other people's opinion, and being moved by what I want to do, right? And what's in my heart to do, right? And so while this has been a process for me, right, and at times it still is, I know that it's a process for a lot of y'all, right? Where you want to be fully who you are. Like, you want to walk fully in who you are. But for some of you, it may be the circle that you're around. For some of you, it may be the type of habits that you develop. For some of you, it may be, how you grew up. For some of you, it may be that you've been so attached to a thing, or so attached to a person, or so attached to a situation that situation now is guiding you and leading you and pushing you, right? And you're not in a space where you're you're moving off your own authentic self, but you're moving based on the situation, right? And my heart breaks for people who, are in that space where, it's they care so much about what people think that they don't embrace themselves. And so they operate and become someone that they're not. And so let me just say this, man. Like my heart breaks because, I was once you. I was once you, right? I was once you, quiet and silent within myself because, I know I wanted more, but I didn't know how to do it, right? I just knew I wanted more, and I knew that I was going to do whatever it took to get it, right? And so for some of you, if you're going to experience your personal freedom, you're going to have to accept doing whatever it takes to attain that. Doing whatever, going whatever ropes, going through whatever process to take that, to attain that, because your personal freedom, and your life and all of those things depend upon you embracing and attaining that thing, right? Because, we get older, right? And it's one of those things where, we're adults and we're making our own decisions, but a lot of folks are walking around and they're not really making their own decisions. Like they're not really making their own decisions. They're not really deciding their own future, but their future is being decided about what someone said, what someone thought. And, and I don't know if this was you, but, you have folks where you grow up to the point to where, you're supposed to go to this place, you go to this certain school, go to college and all those things. You get the certain job, you get the certain career, don't start that business because, people tell you like, don't do certain things too. Right. And them telling you not to do it could be them preventing you from being your authentic self. It could be them preventing you from doing the thing that is in your heart to do, right? Like it could be them preventing you from doing that. And so what I want to just encourage you on today, man, is take your power back. Take your power back, right? Take your authentic self back, right? And I'm not talking to everybody, but there's some of you, like you've been on this thing, right? And you feel like your authentic self, you feel like it's been stripped from you. And I'm encouraging you to take it back, right? And if for those of you who have not begun that process, I'm encouraging you to just accept it. To just accept it because your life, right? It depends on it. Your dreams depend on it. Your future depends on it. Everything that you do moving forward depends on you attaining, accepting this concept of personal freedom, acting, thinking, and expressing myself without any interference or oppression, and encompassing rights and abilities that allow for my autonomy and self-determination, right? And a lot of us think we don't have autonomy. A lot of us are not self-determined, right? Because we have not embraced this whole thing of personal freedom. So how do we attain personal freedom? What are some ways that we can attain personal freedom? Number one, you have to make a decision. Like you have to decide that this is what you're going to do. And you have to decide that, I'm gonna be who I am regardless, right? I'm gonna be my authentic self. I like what I like. I'm gonna do what I do, right? And it's not saying that you're rebellious in a way that it's affecting you on the negative, but you are kind of being rebellious, right? You are in some ways to where you're not moved by other people's opinions, right? Because we've been taught to comply. We've been taught to abide, right? And not move outside of the box, right? And experiencing that personal freedom and walking in your authentic self is moving outside of that box. And so, number one, I just need for you to make a decision. Like, make the decision that this is what I'm going to do, right? And then number two, I need for you to gather some habits, gather some make some different choices that are that's accommodating you walking in your personal freedom, right? And so if you made decisions in the past that hasn't accommodated that, then change that up, right? Make the adjustment. So one, accepting and making a decision. Number two, developing habits and making decisions that accommodate you accepting your personal freedom. And number three, as I said throughout the podcast, man, throughout this episode, you need to get in a community that is going to help you to do that. You need to get in a community of people who are already walking in their authentic self, who are already moving in a courageous way, who are already moving in spaces to where Nothing stops them, nothing limits them, nothing breaks them, nothing moves them in any way other than themselves. You need to be in that community, right? Because again, who you're associated around with is a huge tell of who you are, right? And so I need you to associate with people who are walking in their personal freedom already. Like, get around them, ask the questions. Like, man, like, how did you do this? Like, what was your process in the beginning? Like, and not just asking them how they got to the place, but asking them what did they even go through to even get to that place? Because a lot of times we want what people have, or we want to live a certain life, but we don't want to go through the cost. We don't want to pay the price to make that happen, right? And so part of that price is, number one, accepting it. Again, we talk about personal freedom, accepting that I'm going to walk in my authentic self. I'm going to think, I'm acting, I'm going to express myself with no limitations, with no interferences, right? No type of oppression, but always I'm walking in my autonomy and I'm walking in my self-determination. Personal freedom, make the decision. Number two, developing those habits, right? Making different decisions that accommodate your personal freedom. And then number three, getting into a community, man. A community of people who are walking in that is so important. And I think if we do those things, I think you're a much step closer to attaining your personal freedom. But I will say it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time, because for some of you've been guided by other people's opinions for years. You feel what I'm saying? And this thing is not just going to bypass or happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take a process. But you got to make a decision to walk through that process. So look, I believe in y'all. I trust in you. And I know that you can do it, man, because I've done it myself. And I know that if I can do it, you surely can do it. So look, y'all, thank y'all, man, for joining on this episode of the podcast Conversations with Kenny, talking about personal freedom, man. Again, I didn't even think I was going to go into the subject matter, but, the creator has, his way of doing things. And so I want to operate in the way that the creator wants me to operate. And so, I had another subject in mind, but I wanted to talk about this because I just feel in my spirit that there are people who have yet to attain that and really want to attain that, and like cry every single night wanting to attain that, right? And so I hope this message, I hope this podcast, I hope this episode was of courage, it was of encouragement to you, and that you were able to get some tips to, just to walk in your personal freedom, because your life depends on it, right? And it's time for you to do it, right? It's time for you to step into the new, right? And that new may be walking in your personal freedom, right? So before I get out of here, I do want to encourage you all, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe. That's how, we continue to get the notice and all those things. That's how, folks notice our podcast and all of those things. So I would just really appreciate y'all support. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow the podcast where all podcasts are, man. And I look forward to talking to y'all again, man. But again, thank y'all so much for joining. And again, I hope this really ministered to you and really helped you just as it has helped me, y'all. So I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. God bless. Peace.